Normative ethics is one way you could be thinking about ethics, but applied ethics is another way you could be thinking about ethics, and meta-ethics. Sometimes people spell meta-ethics with a dash right here, and sometimes they don't. This is a third, very different way you could be thinking about this concept. Ethics, ethics, ethics. I want to explain applied ethics. When you claim that some action is impermissible, this is a claim that belongs under the heading of applied ethics, because you're taking what you think is wrong and then you are claiming that some action satisfies the criteria for what makes an action wrong. And that has to do with normative ethics, but it's separate from normative ethics. If you're studying normative ethics by itself, you might not at all ever call an action right or wrong, permissible or impermissible, ethical or unethical. There's a lot more to say about applied ethics. For example, calling an action impermissible is not the same as calling it wrong, and calling an action permissible is not the same as calling it righteous. So there's a lot to unpack here. And now let's move to a different part of ethics, metaethics, that has something to do with normative ethics but is not normative ethics. The word or concept here, meta, means that we're going beyond or beneath or below, somehow not limited by the word that comes after it, ethics. And that's exactly what you're doing with metaethics. You're going beyond the actual ethical concepts and you're asking background questions like, when you call some action wrong, what does that even mean? What does it mean to call an action wrong or impermissible or unethical? Another way you could be thinking about metaethics is, where does the wrongness come from? What is the origin of immorality or morality? What is the source? What makes something right or wrong? A third thing that you could be thinking about in metaethics is the scope of your claim that some action is wrong or right, permissible or impermissible, the objectivity or subjectivity. When you're claiming that an action is wrong, is it just wrong in this scenario? Is it just wrong for you or for them? Like, who is it wrong for? When is it wrong? Just like metaethics has to do with applied ethics, metaethics has to do with normative ethics, applied ethics has to do with normative ethics. All of these things, they're all united because they are all different parts of things you'd be studying in ethics. It's all about what it is permissible or impermissible for us to do. And in ethics, you're asking the questions that have to do with what is contingent and what is possible. Contingency means that it does not need to happen. It is not necessary. It's possible that it doesn't happen. And possibility means that it can happen. It also can not happen. And when you're dealing with ethics, you're dealing with scenarios or questions that are in the realm of things that can happen but don't need to happen. And then the question arises, should it happen? Would it be right for us to do it or allow it? Would it be ethical? Or if we did it, the thing that we can do but don't need to do, would it be wrong for us to do? So anytime you're talking about ethics, you're talking about things that are contingent and yet possible. If you're talking about whether there is a objective claim or what the source is or what it means, you're in the realm of metaethics. If you're asking or saying that some action is right or wrong, you're within the scope of applied ethics. And here's a third thing that's going on. In normative ethics, you are literally looking at the norms, what it would be normal to do, the standard, the criteria, what you should aim to do, the ideal do's and don'ts for your action to be ethical, or in other words, for ethical actions. And this is a big question. What are the standards Or if there's just one, then what is the standard for acting in a way that is ethical, permissible, righteous? And that's when you get different theories. In normative ethics, you're studying the different theories that each tell you what the norms are, or what the standards are, or what the criteria are for ethical action. Let's see how all three of these are entangled. You want to call some action wrong. Well, wrong according to what? Say you think that euthanasia is unethical. Well, according to what? According to what theory? Where are the standards coming from? You're able to apply your ethics if you have an ethics. And so normative theory provides what those standards are that you can use to judge an action as being right if it meets that standard, or wrong if it falls short of that standard. So that's this connection, and this one's involved as well, metaethics that is. When you're calling some action right or wrong according to some ethical theory, some ethical normative theory, in the back of your mind, somewhere that you might not even be thinking about, you have an idea about whether that applies to only this case or if it's universal. What does it even mean to call that action wrong? What makes that action wrong? So there's more to think about in metaethics, but there's more to think about in applied ethics. 5 examples of normative ethical theories are on the board now. This is the watered down version. Each one of these could have a 45-minute video.